Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Continue reading from chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita as it is. Krishna is telling us the differences between the body, the soul, the super soul, what is knowledge. Okay, so let's continue reading.
य एवं वेत्ति पुरुषं प्रकृतिं च गुणैः सह सर्वथा वर्तमानोऽपि नासा भूयो भिजायते. Translation. One who understands this philosophy concerning material nature, the living entity, and the interaction of the modes of nature is sure to attain liberation. He will not take birth here again, regardless of his present position. Clear understanding of material nature, the super soul, the individual soul, and their interrelation makes one eligible to become liberated and turn to the spiritual atmosphere without being forced to return to this material nature. This is the result of knowledge. The purpose of knowledge is to understand distinctly that the living entity has by chance fallen into this material existence. By his personal endeavor, in association with authorities, saintly persons, and a spiritual master, he has to understand his position and then revert to spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness by understanding Bhagavad Gita as it is explained by the personality of Godhead. Then it is certain that he will never come again into this material existence. He will be transferred into spiritual world for a blissful eternal life of knowledge.
Okay, so what is Krishna saying here?
Krishna is saying that once we get this knowledge in the association of spiritual master and saintly people, then we do not have to return. We will become Krishna consciousness and we don't have to return to this material world again.
Yeah. Yeah, because what happens is one may get liberation, one may reach the spiritual sky, but one may have no knowledge of how to enter into any of the spiritual planets.
Mm.
It's only by devotional service that we understand, oh, there's different spiritual planets, and that the Supreme Lord, he is a person, and in these planets, he himself or one of his expansions is there. So one may reach Brahman and just think that the Brahman is all in all. But because having no knowledge of how to enter the planets, one will again come back to the material world. Most
Mm.
likely. Mostly. Why? Because the soul needs some kind of activity. And there is no activity in the Brahman.
Mm.
So because of that, then one may come down, but by having knowledge, uh, Krishna consciousness, by engaging in devotional service, then one can enter into this, any of these Vaikuntha planets and not come back to this material world.
Mm.
So that's why it's not enough to know I'm the body, I'm the soul. That's the beginning, that's the first stage. But then the question should be raised, okay, if I'm the soul, then how should I act? What should I do? And then that is devotional service.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. Let's
Yeah.
go to the next one.
ध्यानेन आत्मनि पश्यन्ति केचिद् आत्मानम् आत्मना अन्ये सांख्येन योगेन कर्मयोगेन चापरे. Translation. Some perceive the supersoul within themselves through meditation, others through the cultivation of knowledge, and still others through working without fruitive desires. Perfect. The Lord informs Arjuna that the conditioned souls can be divided into two classes as far as man's search for self realization is concerned. Those who are atheists, agnostics, and skeptics are beyond the sense of spiritual understanding. But there are others who are faithful in their understanding of spiritual life, and they are called introspective devotees. philosophers, and workers who have renounced fruitive results. Those who always try to establish the doctrine of monism are also counted among the atheists and agnostics. In other words, only the devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are best situated in spiritual understanding because they understand that beyond this material nature are the spiritual world and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is expanded as the Paramatma and the Super Soul in everyone. The all pervading Godhead, of course, there are those who try to understand the Supreme Absolute Truth by cultivation of knowledge, and they can be counted in the class of the faithful. The Sankhya philosophers analyze this material world into 24 elements, and they place the individual soul as the 25th item. When they are able to understand the nature of the individual soul to be transcendental to the material elements, they are able to understand also that above the individual soul, there is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the 26th element. Thus, gradually, they also come to the standard of devotional service in Krishna consciousness. Those who work without fruitive results are also perfect in their attitude. They are given a chance to advance to the platform of devotional service in Krishna consciousness. Here it is stated that there are some people who are pure in consciousness and who try to find out the supersoul by meditation. And when they discover the supersoul within themselves, they become transcendentally situated. Similarly, there are others who also try to understand the supreme soul by cultivation of knowledge. And there are others who cultivate the Hatha Yoga system and who try to satisfy the supreme personality of Godhead by childish activities.
Mm. So what is Krishna saying?
Krishna is saying there are three ways using which we can attain transcendent. We can go beyond this material, or through which we can perceive the super soul.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's right. To understand the difference between soul and super soul. So it's not only one process, they are different processes.
Hmm. One is
There
merit.
are different, huh?
Yeah.
So, but then what happens is that that this is like the indirect process, right? That one gives up working. One says, "Okay, I'm going to work because it meant to be done, and I offer the result." One does not know who to offer the result to. So then one may do like philanthropy or,
Hmm.
good charity work. Then with this kind of purification, one may come to understand I'm not the body, I'm the soul. So one may begin to cultivate knowledge of difference between knowledge and the soul.
Hmm.
So one may just stay here. So the first one is like karma yogi, working without material desires. Then one comes to Gyan. So one may either stay here or can proceed further. If he stays at this step, he'll be called Gyan Yogi.
Hmm.
Then one proceeds. Oh, okay. And then when one just stays here, there is two things that may happen. That one may think himself to be the Brahman. One may think
Hmm.
himself to be the Supreme Spirit.
Hmm.
And as one progresses, then one will understand, I am spirit, but there is another Supreme Spirit. I'm the soul, but there is another, Para Brahman is there. That those are the real transcendentalists. Then because at the lower stage, one is just thinking oneself to be God. But then that comes into the category of covered atheism. Atheists, they openly decry the existence of God, but by calling oneself God also, then we are denying the existence of the Supreme Lord, of that one powerful God to whom no one is equal to him and no one is greater than him. So the real Jnani will understand that I'm a spirit, I am spirit, but then there is the Supreme Spirit. I am Brahman, and there is Para Brahman. There is a difference. And then one may continue to progress further. And then one may understand that, oh, that there is this super soul in me. I'm the soul, and there is a super soul. The Gyan, he may, this is by the process of meditation. Again, the danger is when one sees the super soul in the heart, then one may mistaken himself to be the super soul. But if one continues in the process of meditation, one will come to understand, yes, I am not the super soul. I'm perceiving the super soul. So I am separate from the super soul. I'm the soul. And the super soul is in me. So like this, there's a gradual elevation of consciousness, gradual um, advancement in spiritual knowledge. So one can either take up this path or one can take up directly bhakti, understanding that, oh, I have a duty to God. I engage in loving relationship to God. And then when one understands that God is a person, then one will understand, the Brahman is the aura coming from his body. The Paramatma, the super soul, is his expansion. That's how he has entered this whole world. So the yogi, when he understands there is a super soul and I'm not the super soul, then when he advances further, he will understand, I have a duty to serve the super soul. It is my duty. And then that begins devotional service. So we can see it's like a process, a gradual process. Or one can immediately take up the process of devotional service. Is that okay?
Yeah.
And of course, in here, Prabhupada is also mentioning Sankhya. So Sankhya philosophy divides this material world into 24 elements. The five gross elements, the three subtle elements, the senses, the sense objects. Then there is the Mahatattva. So 24 elements. Then Sankhya says, okay, all this is there. The material world is just interaction of these elements. But the soul, that is separate. That's a different, it's a 25th element. It is not included in any of this material. It's the spirit soul. And above the spirit soul, as the Sankhya philosopher also advances further, he comes to understand, above all this is the super soul who's controlling the individual soul as well as all the 24 elements. So that is understanding the nature of the super soul through Sankhya. And then gradually we'll come to devotional service. So we can see that, there are different processes, and then being in that process, and gradually one can come to take up devotional service, Krishna consciousness, or one can immediately take up Krishna consciousness. One does not have to go through the gradual process. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Text 26. Anyayatva evam ajnanata ajanantah shrut श्रुत्वानेभ्य उपासते तेऽपि चाति तरणन्ति एव मृत्युं श्रुतिपरायणाः. Translation. Again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about him from others. Because of their tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death. Purport. This verse is particularly applicable to modern society because in modern society there is practically no education in spiritual matters. Some of the people may appear to be atheistic or agnostic or philosophical, but actually there is no knowledge of philosophy. As for the common man, if he is a good soul, then there is a chance for advancement by Chaitanya, who preached. Oh, sorry. Then there is a chance for advancement by hearing. This hearing process is very important. Lord Chaitanya, who preached Krishna consciousness in the modern world, gave great stress to hearing, because if the common man simply hears from authoritative sources, he can progress, especially according to Lord Chaitanya. If he hears the transcendental vibration Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. It is stated, therefore, that all men should take advantage of hearing from realized souls and gradually become able to understand everything. The worship of the Supreme Lord will then undoubtedly take place. Lord Chaitanya has said that in this age, no one needs to change his position, but one should give up the endeavor to understand the absolute truth by speculative reasoning. One should learn to become the servant of those who are in knowledge of the Supreme Lord. If one is fortunate enough to take shelter of a pure devotee, hear from him about self realization and follow in his footsteps, one will be gradually elevated to the position of a pure devotee. In this verse, particularly, the process of hearing is strongly recommended, and this is very appropriate. Although the common man is often not as capable as so called philosophers, faithful hearing from an authoritative person will help one transcend this material existence and go back to Godhead, back to
So
home.
what process is Krishna recommending here?
Hearing, simply hear from pure devotees.
Yeah, hearing. That's how devotional service begins, right? The
So,
first hearing,
yeah.
hear from the pure devotees.
So
Great
even like
stress.
it is mentioned that as for the common man, if he is a good soul, so there is also condition. Only if he is a good soul. Only then
Because
there are, yeah.
because not everyone is interested to hear, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but of course, what happens is that the devotee, the pure devotee, he is giving this opportunity to everyone. That's what Lord Chaitanya said. Just go out on the streets and chant Hare Krishna. So, as soon as one hears, one may not take up devotional service immediately, but sooner or later one will take it up. If one is a good soul, then he's going to take it up immediately. But if like how the soil, some soil is very fertile, some soil not so fertile, takes time. But it has to,
Hmm.
it is going to give some fruit some time or the other. Maybe not now, maybe in the future life. So that's why just hearing, because what qualification do we have? We have no qualification.
Hmm.
But it's the devotees. Like Prabhupada was asked by the devotees that, oh, Prabhupada, that means we have done pious activities in our past life, and that's why we are able to take up devotional service. Prabhupada said, I am making your pious activity. This pious is not material piety, but Sukriti. Sukriti. Prabhupada was giving an opportunity to everyone just by a little service to him, just by hearing from him, or helping him and spread in the movement. Prabhupada was helping them create their Sukriti. That's how they were able to take up devotional service. Similarly for us, by hearing Prabhupada, reading Prabhupada's books, by distributing Prabhupada's books, there's some service that we can do for Srila Prabhupada, which can give us this attraction to hear.
Hmm.
So hearing, very important. Arjuna is hearing from Krishna. Again, hearing, we have to understand who to hear from. And because there's so many people speaking, so we have to use our discretion. Who are we hearing the spiritual knowledge from? should hear from one who has the spiritual knowledge. Those are the devotees. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Service to the devotee. Bhagavatam says that when one serves a devotee, great service is done. By that, one gets an attraction to hear the messages of Krishna. And when one hears the messages of Krishna, then Krishna, who is within the heart, he cleans up all the material desires from the heart.
Mm.
These are very, very much quoted, well quoted verses. Shushrushoshra dhanasya vasudeva katharuschi syan mahat sevaya viprapunya tirthas nishevana. O twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, a great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. So, by serving a pure devotee, then one can get this desire to hear the message of Krishna, hear about Krishna. Shanvatam swakatha Krishna punya shavana kirtana hridi antasto hi abhadrani vidunoti suhrit satam. Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. So, by hearing the messages of Krishna, then Krishna, he is the Paramatma in the heart. He is the one who's cleaning our heart.
Mm.
He cleans up, takes away our desire for material enjoyment when one is hearing his messages properly.
Mm.
So this is from Bhagavatam. Great, great stress is given to hearing. Mm,
Mm.
okay. Any comments?
So how we can exactly, if we find any pure devotee, then how we can provide service to him?
Yeah, can ask him, how can I serve you?
Okay.
Usually devotees may not like to be served. Do you know?
Mm.
If physical, if some menial service is possible, so service is of two types, Vapu and Vani, serving the physical body of the pure devotee. Maybe cook for them or
Mm.
help in cleaning their room or clothes or,
Mm.
something, offering menial service, some physical service. And or Vani, serving the Vani, serving the instructions, means following the instructions of the devotee.
Mm.
So this is how, for example, Srila Prabhupada, we can still serve Srila Prabhupada by following his instruction, by reading his books, studying his books. He said, study my books. By studying his books, by encouraging others to study his books, by distributing his books, by serving ISKCON in some way or the other. Prabhupada said, ISKCON is my body. So by
Mm.
serving ISKCON in some way or the other, we are serving Prabhupada.
Okay.
And then whenever opportunity arises, there's a great devotee coming, can can invite them, can cook for them, can, you know, different ways.
Okay. Okay.
So Vapu for physical service is not always possible, but Vani, serving the instructions, is always possible.
Mm. Sure.
Okay. Serving the pure devotee, that's how Narad Muni became Narad Muni. In his previous life, Narad Muni was the son of a maid servant. He was a small boy. very small boy, 4, 5 years old. And his mother was a servant in some sort of a dharamshala or something. Then came the Chaturmasya months, 4 months, rainy season. So these Vedantis, these devotees came there and the mother was serving them. And so now the small boy, he would also serve them. He would help his mother. So he would also serve them, like wash their dishes or help his mother some other services. Then one day he asked them, "Can I take your remnants?" So they said, "Yeah, sure." And he took the remnants. And
Mm.
so by doing service to them and taking their remnants, he got this desire to hear from them. Then he started hearing from them. By hearing from them, then he became a devotee, you
Okay.
know, engaged in devotional service, followed the instructions. Then next life, he's become Narad Muni. He became Narad Muni in
Mm.
his next life.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. Let's stop here.
So, yeah,
You
sure.
had
So,
you had anything to add?
no, nothing to add. I just wanted to ask, did you receive email yesterday for summary?
No, no,
No?
I didn't. No, that's what I wanted to tell you. I didn't.
Okay.
I, I didn't receive it. I'm
Maybe
gonna,
it's being saved somewhere else then on
or
your
maybe I
PC.
should go online and, yeah, and check it in my profile and all that, right? Okay. Or somewhere saved somewhere else on my computer. Okay, let me check it then.
Yes.
I'll check it. Okay. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare